Welcome back to Depraved and Debaucherous. We're going to talk about what makes a man come off as creepy. There are a lot of guys now that are really struggling anyway, trying to approach women in the first place. Just in that first initial approach. Or just going on that first date and just struggling to kind of make things work out. Make it smooth, trying too hard to make things happen. And there's some new information about this from a online dating coach in Austin, Texas, that is talking about now there's a big difference between coming on to someone and coming off as creepy. So here's what he says. Blaine Anderson is his name. They now make the point. So she suggests that steering clear of 9 telltale behaviors associated with creepiness is a surefire way to avoid the sounding the creepiness alarm. So she goes through and gives 9 of those different traits. They are staring, unwanted contact on social media, inappropriate comments, controlling behavior, pressure for sex, etc. So we're going to go into more of those, but here's what was being said. So there was a survey that she did to find out about this, and this is what she found. She says that there's an increase in the number of prospective clients contacting her saying, I'm afraid to approach women because I don't want to be perceived as creepy. And when she heard it over and over, this is because girls are saying this to them. And what's happening too is that these guys are getting rejected. So it's part of the rejection. Now, this could just be a phrase that just gets given to a guy and all of a sudden, rejection happens. And that's just a default way of rejecting. I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested. You're creepy. Ick. Whatever. Those kind of things will happen. And that's where some guys don't get a chance to go ahead and get to a girl because they're going to feel like there's that. And that's giving guys a complex, which is what Blaine Anderson's talking about. So she says that creepy lacks a clear definition of dating context. The murkiness around what it means to be creepy is problematic from a dating standpoint. Right. So it's a blanket phrase. It's very vague. And it's not going to really say anything about what. And the other part is, you're never going to ask the question, what makes me creepy? Why are you going to call me creepy for? You're not going to get an answer. That's the point. So if it were clear what made a behavior creepy, men wouldn't worry about unintentionally being perceived as creepy. But guys, you should know, and I know enough by now by being rejected as many times, is that you can't expect an answer. You can't expect an explanation for anything. Women will just go ahead and change the beat of a drum. Women, especially younger women, they could just change for whatever reason. There's all this point of, unless you really have a woman that is definitely in love with you, in the initial contact with a woman, she can ghost. She can go away because it's acceptable behavior now. What are you going to do about it? Now, the confusion about what is and isn't causes problems for women too, because women don't enjoy being subjected to creepy behavior. So increased clarity around what it is and what isn't creepy might reduce the likelihood women have creepy experiences. But now here's the other part. What is it about peer pressure among women with their girlfriends or with other, siblings, aunts, cousins, whatever, sisters? When they say what is creepy, it might not be creepy to you. It might be something that's kind of off. It's like kinky or it's kind of dirty or naughty. Maybe the girl likes it. So what one girl might think is creepy, she thinks, well, I need to say it's creepy too, and I can't go for that because I can't be looked down as such. Because maybe there's something that the guy says that you might be turned on to, but it's like, no, there's a standard you're supposed to set, and you can't accept it. You just have to call it creepy and go. So she decided to do a survey, 2,000 American women ages 18 to 40. And here's what she found out. 82% of women experience creepy behavior sometimes, often, or constant, but we don't know what that is. Men avoid women out of fear of being creepy, and 44% of men said the fear of being creepy reduces the likelihood of interacting with women. Because they're just hearing that blanket phrase, they don't know what it means, and that scares them. I know it does to me. I've been called that. I think every guy's been called that before. You hear that, especially if it's like somebody you're talking to on text. And then the understanding doesn't come through. Like you might be trying to send a message and it doesn't make sense, or the woman doesn't want to make it sense. They just want to get out of there. They want to bail out and just say you're creepy goodbye, and they just, block you or whatever they're going to do. Now, that's one thing I want to know is if they're talking about the approach online or in person, but they didn't really say that part. And there are 9 creepy behaviors men should avoid. Here's the full 9 list. Staring, unwanted contact on social media, inappropriate comments, controlling behaviors. Here are the other ones. Won't accept no, unwanted physical contact, pressure for sex, clinginess, and physical stalking. Now, are these the ones that are being used as the reasons for why a woman is calling you creepy? Okay. Staring, that's depending on the woman. Unwanted contact on social media. Well, there's people sliding on the DMs and on Instagram all the time. But on social media, you can control who you block, who you report, who you want to have on and off. And dating apps the same way. So I don't get that part. You could say it's creepy, but that shouldn't deter any guys. They're just going to get shut down and they just go on to the next girl. Inappropriate comments. Well, that's depending on the woman. Women, we know that they could be very triggered. They could easily be very sensitive, hypersensitive of what you say, and can really take anything literally that you say and take it out of context. And maybe there's something you're going to say that it's like, you're harassing me. That's inappropriate. Like you're defiling me. Like, I can't believe you'd say that about me. I get that part too. And in person, it's, that's one of those things where, especially in person, you do want to make sure that if you're going to say something and it might be kind of blue and kind of naughty, well, hey, listen, you're going to take the risk and go all or nothing. You might as well, but realize that if the girl doesn't like it, then you know what? You're out. Like I know I've done myself from share of making comments that a woman didn't think they liked. That's okay. Because sometimes some guys might just do it just because of the fact that the things are not going anywhere in the conversation. So they're just going to say something outlandish just to see what kind of rise they can get out of the girl. Keep that in mind too. Controlling behaviors. Well, that's just some guy that kind of makes you feel like the guy is giving narcissistic, manipulative vibes. You should do this. You should be with me. And maybe there's things that he might say that just make you feel like this guy's coming on so strong and wants to be so into me. I could tell this guy's going to turn around and not be able to keep this up. Won't accept no. Well, that's just something you can't do. You get the no, you get the first no, maybe a second no, but you got to stop after that. You have to. There's just no choice. Unwanted physical contact. Well, that's just something that, you just can't do. And if you try any physical contact, you got to know that when the time's right. You're just going to have to detect it. Pressure for sex. Well, if you're doing things right, she's going to be into it. But if she's not, you can't push. And when you realize you're pressuring her for sex, you shouldn't do it anyway. You have to stop. You should. But there are some guys that will not heed this advice. Clinginess. Yeah, that makes sense. Physical stalking. Yeah. Well, that's not creepy. That's just wrong, right? And then when she's asked about what men can do to avoid coming off as creepy, she says men don't need a professional to tell them behaviors like pressuring women for sex or physical stalking are wrong. But they're the ones that might need the most attention, easiest to exhibit unintentionally. Staring, unwanted contact on social media, and clinginess. Now, she does talk about online. So there's not too much of an issue when it comes to online dating because there's all these different measures in place for safety and for, reporting or blocking or getting rid of somebody that you don't want to talk to. Now, she also talked about that women tend to struggle with a needle in the haystack problem. As a woman, it's hard to ascertain the information you want to know about a prospective partner from just a few photos and a line of text. It's easy to experience a stream of disappointing dates with incompatible people and feel discouraged with online dating as a result. But see, every time I get asked certain questions about myself, I'll answer the questions, but then, there's like all these rules. Well, I shouldn't say too much about myself to make myself sound like I'm too hot or like a big deal and give myself an ego. Maybe there's things that you're supposed to have some mystery. We always get told, guys, you should be a little bit mysterious so the girl wants to know you more, gets a little more curious about you and doesn't know anything about you and you haven't given up your whole hand. So I don't know what you do about that either. It's like the game is meant to be that way. So if women are feeling that they can't get the information they want, well, that's also because they're not going to be that inquisitive, nor are they going to be that intricate in asking the right questions to really get a response. Or are they saying enough about themselves to deserve a response? Because it should be speak when spoken to, in a way. And the men struggle with a one in a crowd problem. So men on dating apps have indistinctive profiles, fail to get matches as a result, and it's a widespread sentiment, if untrue, that dating apps are rigged against men. There's more to say about this. What she says ultimately is, for men, they need a depersonalized rejection. A woman's interest in you can depend on hundreds of factors that are not only outside of your control, but also may be entirely unrelated to you. Accepting the rejection is part of the process. Sometimes it doesn't have nothing to do with your approach, and even when it does, rejection doesn't reflect a character flaw or personal shortcoming so much as it's an opportunity to improve yourself. So going at the original point, if you get the word creepy, it's just another word being used by women to reject you. And you just got to take it as that. Now, there are certain things that she mentioned here that is creepy behavior that, yeah, you can't be doing. And when it comes to inappropriate physical contact, pressuring for sex, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't, but it's not going to stop anybody from not doing that. I'm sure there are some guys that are going to hear and they're like, you know what? No, I'm not listening to that. That's okay. So that's what I got for you. And maybe if you do things right, keep getting rejected until you find the right woman that you can both be a little depraved and debaucherous.